What's up, you guys? I'm doing another video on making a removable thrust tube system, so we can be able to take one EDF unit and move it from multiple jets into like the X-47B I have in the background there. So I don't want to keep buying multiple EDF units and ESCs. So again, this is my bat wing that I built in the build video. You know, I wanted to keep it so I could fly it again, but I also wanted to build another jet. So I'll show you what we're going to do. Let's go ahead and I took and stuck my 70mm EDF unit inside a 20-ounce foam cup that I got from the dollar store. And the EDF unit comes with these little mounts on both sides. So we're going to cut around those. So I'm going to mark on both sides of each. Make sure your EDF unit's centered in your cup too. So there, I marked it. Now I know this EDF unit is 2.5 inches. It's 2.5 inches long. So I'm going to go ahead and mark down 2.5 inches on one side. Turn the cup around. On this side I'm going to go 2 1/4, and this will allow us room on this side to feed our wires through the back, and we'll get to that in a second. So go ahead and just, you gotta be super accurate with this. Now I'm just going to mark some lines down to there, down to our 2.5 inch mark and our 2 3/4. Come in here with an X-Acto knife. Take and trim this piece out. We'll do the same on the other side. And again, this is so that the mounting brackets on the 70mm Detrum combo kit clear the foam cup here. We're also going to feed our wires out one side. So there we go. I'll take and put my speed controller down in there. Actually, you know what? We can just go ahead and... So you want to take the side that you cut at 2 3/4. Go ahead and just feed your wires down through it. Just want to feed them down through that crack. Let me line them up with the prong. Sometimes it can be a little tedious, guys. Just work with it though. But you're going to see this 70mm EDF unit fits perfect down in this cup. Go ahead and make sure it seats down in there. Make sure your top's lined up with your cup. You want this to be centered on there really nice. Just like that. And this is the one I'm building for all my jets. So now that we got it flush to the top of the cup, make sure your EDF unit's nice and flush. We'll go ahead and run some hot glue on this. Let that set up for a second. Now again, we're building this so we can remove it from one jet and just move it right into the next jet. So if you guys have, you know, multiple jets, we can just use one thrust unit. We're going to make it removable. Just let this set up for a second. I'm going to go ahead and hit where we cut out our pieces. Go ahead and fill this up with some hot glue. Make sure you're getting it on the foam cup and down in the piece you cut out. So again, I just filled it up. Some hot glue. As you can see there. Go ahead and do the same thing to the other side. You can wipe off any excess that you got hanging out. Grab another hot glue stick here. You get a little more down in here. And again, just fill up that whole cavity that you cut out with the hot glue. Like that. You get a lot of thrust from using these little 20-ounce foam cups with the 70mm Detrum combo kit, and it's a great deal. For like 49 bucks you get the whole EDF unit, the ESC, 4 servos, and once you mount your servos on your jets, I would just leave the servos where they are and just order a couple more servos for your next jet. Alright, so there we have our thrust tube built. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to cut off this top of this foam cup, or the bottom of the foam cup, right on this line here. And as you can see, there's a line already at the bottom of the cup. Oh, the glue's still hot. Again, I'm just staying right on the line here. And I'm going to be using this one on all my jets that I build from here on out. That way I ain't got to keep building these thrust units. Be able to just remove it and put it on my next jet. Alright, so we took and cut off the top. Let's move on to the... Here I just got a scrap piece of Elmer's foam board, and it's probably like a foot by a foot, and this is the thicker foam board, guys. It's not that cheesy stuff. So what I'm gonna do is just mark a line down the center of this. Now this is the templates that comes for setting your dihedral on these jets, and I'm going to use this same dihedral on most of them. So we're going to be using this. I just cut this out of my plans and I glued it onto a scrap piece of foam board, and you usually set your jet in there to get your dihedral. So we're going to be using that to get our dihedral on the mount that we're going to use for our 70mm EDF unit. Alright, so I have my scrap foam board. I marked a line down the center, and now I'm just going to score this line. Again, don't cut all the way through, just score it. Now I'm going to come back with this little poker stick. I'm going to spread this line out a little bit so I can get dihedral in my piece. Go ahead and set it on my template. Sure enough, it's good. Let's go ahead and want to hit this whole score line with hot glue. And don't be afraid to use the hot glue in here, guys. Just like so. Now set it on your template. Make sure you got it nice and centered. You can go back and wipe off any excess glue. And by running your finger down it, it kind of connects the two pieces better. Again, make sure you got your piece centered in your dihedral template, because we're going to need this exact shape. Just going to let this set up for a second. You don't want to pull it away too early, because you end up losing that dihedral bend. I usually just wait for the hot glue to clear over a little bit. It'll start turning foggy white. Yeah guys, I didn't want to have to keep buying 70mm EDF units just to fly multiple jets. You know, I don't want to order 5 of those things. And this way too, if you crash, you can just pull your EDF unit right off, throw it in another jet. Alright, that should be good there. Alright, so we got our dihedral set. We already built our thrust tube. Now I took another 20-ounce foam cup and I just took and cut it right in half. And to make sure that this piece don't deflect any when you go to trace around it, I just used some clear tape in the center of it, because I don't want this to move at all or flex outward. So now we're going to place it right in the center of our piece. And you want to make sure the cup is centered perfect on your score line. I'll go ahead and do that. And again, I used the tape to make sure that the cup didn't flex around and stuff, because I want this exact shape. So I'm going to go ahead and trace around this. Don't let your cup move at all. Go ahead and make sure I got everything. Alright, so there we have our marks. Now I'm going to go ahead and connect both these sides together, front and back, with my ruler. You can go ahead and make this a little, give it about an extra 1/16 on both ends. The way our foam cup sits in here real nice. Alright, so there we have our foam cup all traced out on here. We got our dihedral set. Now let's take and I'm just going to freehand this out of here. I'll use that same cup too I'll use the same half a piece to cut the bottom of my jet out too. And that's where this is going to fit in there so we can make it removable. Alright. Make sure we didn't miss anything. There it is. Alright, now let's take our EDF unit. This is going to fit right down inside of our piece. Now make sure your wires and your ESC are on the top. So again, this is going to be our mount. And I'm also going to leave more of the foam cup hanging out the bottom than the top. Just off center it slightly, guys. Maybe an 1/8 of an inch more hanging out the bottom than you want on the top. So I'm going to find this where I want to set it. And again, I'm just doing this real quick. Alright, make sure your thrust tube is nice and straight and centered. And again, make sure you got a little more hanging out the bottom than you do the top. And now once I got that there, I'm just going to go ahead and hot glue this. Hit a few tack welds on here. Let that set up for a second. And make sure your cup don't move around at all, you guys. You can see I have just a little bit more hanging out the bottom than I do the top. It's only about maybe an eighth of an inch to even maybe a quarter. Just let that set up for a second. Now I'll go back in here and finish off hot gluing the whole cup to the piece. Just try to make a nice even bead all the way down it. And we're going to do this on the top and bottom. Let that set up for a second. We'll go ahead and flip it over and do the bottom. On the bottom, I'm going to try to do a really nice job because this is the part that you're going to see. So I run a nice bead down it, make it look real good. Alright, you guys, just like that. So this is the bottom of the EDF unit, and as you can see, it sits out a little further, hanging out the bottom. And again, it's only maybe an eighth of an inch. I would just go an eighth of an inch more hanging out the bottom than the top. Just get some of this extra glue off here. Alright, now that we got that, now our measurement from the center of the score line that we have, we want our piece to be 7.5 inches wide. So take 7.5 and cut it in half, and you get, what is it, 3 3/4. So I'm going to go ahead and mark. Got my ruler here. I'm going to put it on the center score line, and I'm going to go, oh, it's 3 1/4. So you want to go 3 1/4 out on both sides of your score line. Or actually, you know what, guys, it is 3 3/4 to get 7.5. My bad. So again, I'm going to go 3 3/4. Yep, and that gives us 7.5. So 3 3/4 from your score line. We'll do it from the top and bottom. So lining this up on here, getting my 3 3/4. Now we'll go ahead and connect the top to the bottom. Again, I just marked a line. Go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. Again, we're going 3 3/4 out from the center, from where we scored our line and set our dehedral with our hot glue. So there we have it. Now I'm going to go back, and this is the top of your jet. You want to go back and cut a 45-degree angle on these lines we just made. So I'm going to go ahead and set it. Again, I'm doing a 45-degree angle cut, like so. Do the same thing on this side. 45-degree angle, toward the center. Now we can go back, once this, that our glue is all dry, everything looks good. Go back and clean this up a little bit. So I'm also going to hurry up and shoot a coat of paint on this for you guys if I got enough time in the video. Now let's go back and we're going to cut off this extra hanging out the top and bottom. So I just line it up with the front of my foam cup, my ruler, mark it with a pen, do the same thing on the back, line it up with your foam cup, mark it with your ruler. There you see I got those lines. Now I'm just going to take and straight cut this. And I'm just going to freehand it, you guys. There's one side. Let's get over here, do the other. There we go. So now we got a mount. We can actually mount this on the bottom of like our bat wing here. If all went well. So again, you would just slide your electronics back in your bat wing, stick your ESC in there, line it up. Got my wires, make sure your wires are out of the way. Sometimes it can be a little hairy getting them past there. There you go, guys. Now I got my 70mm bat wing with a removable thrust tube. Now what you would want to do is just go ahead and you poke some holes. I mean, you can mount this with some lightweight screws and washers and, you know, some nuts and screws. I would just use plastic ones if you're going to do it that way. But again, I would just mark four corners of your mount. And normally I would I use just big zip ties. So I would feed a zip tie down through the hole, cut off the end of another one, and then button it down from the bottom here, or from the top. And as you can see, you guys, it really works good. So now we'll be able to build multiple jets and just go ahead and remove this whole thrust system. It's very cool. Another thing you want to do is after you build this whole unit, just go ahead and make sure you throw a lot of clear tape. You want to basically clear tape the whole bottom of your cup, and that'll allow you to land in the grass without harming the cup. And I just like to use regular Scotch tape. You start working with that box tape and that stuff, it's so big and wide it starts folding up on itself. As you can see, I'm just hitting this with some Scotch tape. And again, you want to do the whole bottom of the cup. And I even like to do right across this front rim. Go ahead and get one on there. Make sure your tape is nice and tight. Like so. Now once you do this all the way down the foam cup, So again, I'm just applying clear tape to cover the whole bottom of the foam cup. You can even do it on the top too, just to make it nice and durable, so when you're pulling in and out of jets you won't harm it. So after you clear tape over the whole top, then you're going to come back and clear tape all the way around your mount. Just like that. And I would basically clear tape the whole system, you guys. I mean, do both sides of your mount, top and bottom. Do both sides, top and bottom of your cup. And that'll just make it a real strong product in the end. So there you have it, guys. And again, you'll be able to use this in the X47B that I'm in the middle of building right now. I just got done doing all my testing with that. And now I can go ahead and use this whole thrust system, guys, right on multiple jets. So I ain't got to worry about ordering more 70mm EDF units. Just like so. So go ahead and mount it whatever way you want to do it. If you want to use some kind of screws and, you know, maybe some plastic ones to make it light, or you can just use big zip ties. Make sure you clear tape around everything, and make sure you even run clear tape where you're going to push your zip ties down through here on your jets, and then just zip them tight. You're good to go. Alright, I'll get back to you with the build videos for the X47B that's coming out real soon. Alright, over and out. What's up, you guys? I'm doing another video on making a removable thrust tube system, so we can be able to take one EDF unit and move it from multiple jets into, like the X47B I have in the background there. I don't want to keep buying multiple EDF units and ESCs. So again, this is my bat wing that I built in the build video. You know, I wanted to keep it so I could fly it again, but I also wanted to build another jet. So I'll show you what we're going to do. Let's go ahead and I took and stuck my 70mm EDF unit inside a 20-ounce foam cup I got from the dollar store. And the EDF unit comes with these little mounts on both sides. So we're going to cut around those. So I'm going to mark on both sides of each. Make sure your EDF unit's centered in your cup too. So there, I marked it. Now I know this EDF unit is 2.5 inches. 2.5 inches long. So I'm going to go ahead and mark down 2.5 inches on one side. Turn the cup around. On this side I'm going to go 2 1/4, and this will allow us room on this side to feed our wires through the back, and we'll get to that in a second. So go ahead and just, you gotta be super accurate with this. Now I'm just gonna mark some lines down to there, down to our 2.5 inch mark and our 2 3/4. Come in here with an X-Acto knife. Take and trim this piece out. We'll do the same on the other side. And again, this is so that the mounting brackets on the 70mm Detrum combo kit clear the foam cup here. And we're also going to feed our wires out one side. So there we go. I'll take and put my speed controller down in there. Actually, you know what? We can just go ahead and... So you want to take the side that you cut at 2 3/4. Go ahead and just feed your wires down through it. Just want to feed them down through that crack. Let me line them up with the prong. Sometimes it can be a little tedious, guys.